Driverly.com, unlimited drama series.
The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers and clattered onto the driveway concrete as I heard my 17-year-old daughter's voice drift through her bedroom window above me. "Oh my God, Jess. My dad is such a total loser." Mia's voice carried that particular brand of teenage venom that could cut through steel. "He's out there fixing that piece of crap truck again, while Mom's at another work dinner with actual successful people. She deserves so much better than him." I crouched there under the hood of my battered Ford, oil stains on my hands, listening to my own kid trash me to her friend over FaceTime. Nice to know where I stood in the family hierarchy. Guess I wasn't the only thing around here that was broken. My name's Jack Morrison, and I've been fixing things my whole life. Cars, plumbing, broken appliances, relationships. You name it, I've tried to make it work again. At 42, I owned Morrison Hardware, a small family business my dad left me, and I thought I had a decent life with my wife Rachel and our daughter. Turns out I was wrong about a lot of things. Rachel Morrison, my wife of 18 years, had been acting strange for months. Late nights at the law firm where she worked as a junior partner, mysterious phone calls she'd taken the other room, sudden interest in expensive clothes and gym memberships. The classic signs were all there, but I'd been too stupid or too trusting to connect the dots. "Dad's just waiting for her to dump him," Mia continued upstairs. "Mom's friend Greg thinks Dad doesn't deserve her. He's right. Greg's actually got his life together." Greg. There it was. A name I'd been hearing more and more lately. Greg Hartwell. Some hotshot real estate agent who worked in the same downtown building as Rachel's firm. They'd gone to college together, she'd mentioned casually. Old friends reconnecting. Nothing to worry about. I wiped my hands on an old rag and walked inside, my work boots heavy on the kitchen tiles. The house felt empty, even though Rachel's car was in the garage. She was probably upstairs in our bedroom, door closed, having another one of her important work calls. The kitchen still smelled like the dinner I'd made for Mia and myself. Rachel had texted that she'd already eaten at the office. Again. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and noticed Rachel's purse sitting on the counter, unzipped and slightly open. I'm not proud of what I did next, but sometimes a man reaches a point where he needs to know the truth, even if it destroys him. Inside her purse, underneath her wallet and makeup, I found a phone I'd never seen before. A cheap prepaid cell phone with a cracked screen protector. My hands shook as I powered it on. The text messages told me everything I needed to know. "Greg, can't wait to see you tonight. Same hotel?" Rachel. "Yes, but we need to be more careful. Jack's been asking questions." Greg. "He's not smart enough to figure it out. Guy fixes toilets for a living." Rachel. "Don't underestimate him. He's not as dumb as he looks." Greg. "If you say so. See you at 8. Wear that black dress." The messages went back months. Photos, too. Intimate pictures of my wife that made my stomach turn. But it was the most recent exchange that really gutted me. Rachel. "The firm's holiday party is next Friday. You'll be there?" Greg. "Wouldn't miss it. Should I talk to your husband?" Rachel. "God, no. Just don't draw attention. He's not smart enough to catch on, but I don't want drama at my workplace." Greg. "Your secret's safe. Can't wait until you're finally free of that anchor." I set the phone down carefully, my hands surprisingly steady. So I was an anchor. A dumb guy who fixed toilets. Not smart enough to catch on. Well, Rachel was about to find out just how wrong she was about that. The law firm of Brennan, Cross and Associates occupied 3 floors of a gleaming downtown high-rise that made my little hardware store look like a shack. I stood in the marble lobby, wearing my only good suit, a navy blue number I'd bought for our wedding, watching lawyers and their spouses mill around with wine glasses and practiced smiles. Rachel looked stunning in a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before. The same one she'd worn in those photos on the burner phone, I realized. She introduced me to her colleagues with the enthusiasm of someone showing off a rash. "This is my husband, Jack. He owns a hardware store." The way she said it made it sound like I collected garbage for a living. Her boss, a silver-haired man named Brennan, shook my hand with the limp grip of someone who'd never done manual labor in his life. "Hardware, eh? Must be satisfying work." Someone's got to keep the world from falling apart, I replied, with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. That's when I saw him. Greg Hartwell stood near the bar, tall and lean in an expensive charcoal suit, his dark hair perfectly styled. He was everything I wasn't: polished, sophisticated, the kind of man who belonged in this world of marble floors and crystal chandeliers. He was also currently eye-fucking my wife from across the room. Jack, honey, I need to mingle, Rachel said, already moving away from me. Try not to, you know, just try to blend in. Don't draw attention. Right. I watched her glide through the crowd, stopping to chat with Greg near a massive window overlooking the city. They stood just close enough to look professional, just far enough apart to avoid suspicion. But I saw the way her hand brushed his arm, the way he leaned in to whisper something that made her laugh. You must be the husband. I turned to find a younger man with slicked back hair and a smirk that needed adjustment. His name tag read, Tad Kellerman, Kellerman Realty. That's me, I said, and the husband. Tad Kellerman. I work with Greg Hartwell. His smile was all teeth and malice. He's mentioned you. Has he now? Yeah, says you're a real, what's the word, salt of the earth type. Simple guy, simple needs. Tad's eyes glittered with amusement. Must be nice, not having to worry about complicated things like ambition or success. I took a sip of my beer. They didn't have anything stronger that I could afford, and studied this little weasel. You know what I love about simple guys like me, Tad? What's that? We're really good at fixing things when they break. I let my smile turn cold. And we're even better at breaking things when they need fixing. Tad's smirk faltered. That sounds almost like a threat. Does it? Huh. Must be my simple vocabulary. I stepped closer, close enough that he had to look up at me. Here's some free advice from a simple guy. Next time you want to insult someone, make sure they don't know where you live, where you work, and what kind of car you drive. Information like that can be really useful. The color drained from Tad's face. How do you? I fix things, remember? That means I pay attention to details, like the fact that you drive a white BMW with the license plate Tadman. Real subtle. Or that your office is on the 3rd floor of the Meridian building. Or that you've got a wife named Jennifer and 2 kids who go to St. Mary's Academy. You're crazy, he whispered. No, I'm thorough. There's a difference. I patted his shoulder hard enough to make him wince. Enjoy the party, Tad, and give Greg my regards. I walked away, leaving him standing there like a deer in headlights. Across the room, Rachel was still chatting with Greg, completely oblivious to the fact that her husband had just made his first move in a game she didn't even know we were playing. The party wound down around 10. Rachel was quiet on the drive home, staring out the passenger window at the city lights. I could smell Greg's cologne on her dress. How was your evening? She asked, her tone carefully neutral. Educational, I replied. Met some interesting people. Learned a lot about the real estate business. She glanced at me sharply. What do you mean? Nothing important, just small talk. I turned onto our street, noting that several houses had their porch lights on. You looked like you were having a good time, especially talking to that Greg fellow. Greg? Oh, he's just a colleague. We went to college together. So you mentioned. Seems like a real charmer. He's professional. Her voice had an edge now. Unlike some people. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Jack. Just try to remember that these people are important to my career. I can't have you making scenes or saying inappropriate things. Making scenes? Like I was some kind of embarrassment she had to manage? I pulled into our driveway and killed the engine. Don't worry, honey, I said, getting out of the car. I'll be sure to stay in my lane. From now on. That night, while Rachel showered off Greg's cologne, I sat in my garage workshop and planned my next move. She wanted me to stay in my lane? Fine. But she was about to learn that my lane was a lot wider than she thought. I started with Greg's car. 3 days later, Greg Hartwell discovered that all four tires on his pristine BMW had been slashed in the parking garage of his office building. Security cameras showed a figure in dark clothing and a baseball cap, but the angle was wrong to make a positive identification. The note tucked under his windshield wiper was brief. Next time, bring a spare or a helmet. A simple guy. I heard about it from my friend Jules Romano, who owned a bar called The Knockout near downtown. Jules had been my sparring partner back when we both boxed at Mickey's gym, and he still had connections throughout the city. Word is some real estate hotshot got his tires cut up, Jules said, polishing glasses behind the bar. Guys running around telling everyone it was some psycho customer, but between you and me, it sounds personal. Sounds expensive, as I replied, nursing my beer. 4 high-end tires, towing, missed appointments, probably cost him a couple grand and a lot of credibility. Jules studied my face. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Jack? Me? I'm just a simple guy who fixes toilets, remember? Jules laughed. Right, and I'm the Pope. He leaned closer. Whatever's going on, be careful. Guys like that have lawyers and connections. So do I. Well, one lawyer anyway. That lawyer was currently at home, pacing around our kitchen like a caged animal. Rachel had been on edge since the tire incident, jumping every time her phone rang, checking the locks twice before bed. This is insane, she was saying to someone on the phone when I walked in from work. No, Greg, you can't prove it was him, because it's circumstantial. Well, what did you expect after Tad told you what Jack said? She noticed me and lowered her voice. I have to go. We'll talk tomorrow. Trouble at work? I asked innocently. Someone vandalized Greg's car. The police think it might be connected to some kind of business dispute. That's terrible. Guy seems to make a lot of enemies. Rachel's eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that successful people sometimes step on toes, Make people angry. I opened the refrigerator and grabbed ingredients for dinner. Speaking of which, how was your day? Any interesting cases? Just the usual. She was watching me carefully now, like I might suddenly confess to tires slashing over the meatloaf. Jack, you haven't been... you're not upset about anything, are you? Why would I be upset? I don't know. You've been acting strange lately. Distant. I turned to face her, putting on my best confused husband expression. Strange how? Just different. Like you're angry about something but won't say what. Honey, if I was angry about something, don't you think I'd tell you? We've been married 18 years. We don't keep secrets from each other, right? The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Rachel's face went pale, and she looked away. Right, she said quietly. No secrets. That weekend brought the Riverside Academy fundraising gala, a fancy dinner dance at the downtown Marriott, where Mia's private school hit up parents for donations. Rachel wore a silver dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, while I stuck with my trusty navy suit. The event was in full swing when Greg Hartwell made his entrance. He'd replaced the BMW with a sleek black Mercedes, and he wore his confidence like expensive cologne. I watched him work the room, shaking hands and flashing that $1,000,000 smile. He was heading straight for our table. Rachel, you look absolutely stunning, he said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. The gesture lasted just a fraction too long to be purely professional. Greg, you remember my husband, Jack? Of course, the hardware king. Greg extended his hand with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. How's business? Can't complain. People always need things fixed. I shook his hand, noting the soft palm and manicured nails. Sorry to hear about your car trouble. Yeah, well, occupational hazard in my line of work. Sometimes you deal with unstable people who can't handle rejection. Must be scary never knowing who might snap. Not really. Most people are all bark and no bite. They make a lot of noise, but when it comes down to it, they're just cowards who hide in the shadows. The challenge was clear. Greg was calling me out, daring me to make a move in public. Around us, the fundraiser continued. Parents laughing, children performing on stage, teachers making speeches about the importance of education. You're probably right, I said, though sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. They're patient. They plan. They wait for the perfect moment. Is that so? Oh yeah, see? Loud people telegraph their punches. But quiet people? They study their target, learn their weaknesses, find out where they live, where they work, what kind of car they drive. I smiled. Hypothetically speaking, of course. Greg's jaw tightened. Hypothetically? Absolutely. For instance, hypothetically, someone might know that you live in the Meridian Towers, Unit 1247, or that you have a standing reservation at Romano's every Tuesday night, or that you play tennis at the Riverside Club every Saturday morning. The color drained from Greg's face. How do you know that? I told you I'm good at fixing things. That means I pay attention to details. I leaned back in my chair. Hypothetically, of course. Rachel was staring at both of us like we'd lost our minds. What are you two talking about?
Don't leave. Let me explain.
Explain a shade I don't know.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Just guy talk, honey, I said. Greg was telling me about his security concerns. Right, Greg said, his voice tight. Well, I should go mingle. Rachel, we'll talk Monday about that project. He walked away quickly, his confidence replaced by nervous energy. Rachel watched him go, then turned to me with confusion and something that might have been suspicion. What the hell was that about? Nothing important. Just letting him know that I'm not as simple as people think. 2 hours later, as couples danced to a jazz quartet and teachers auctioned off donated prizes, Greg Hartwell discovered that his new Mercedes wouldn't start. The engine turned over just fine, but someone had filled the gas tank with sand. Security footage showed the same dark figure from the previous incident, but this time the cameras caught something else. A clear shot of a face under the baseball cap. My face. The anonymous email arrived in Rachel's inbox that night. Control your husband, or I will. This is your only warning. The war was officially on. We need to talk. Rachel's voice cut through the morning silence like a blade. I looked up from my coffee and newspaper to find her standing in the kitchen doorway, still in her robe, holding her phone like evidence in a murder trial. Sure. What's on your mind? Don't play dumb, Jack. I know it was you. I set down my coffee cup and gave her my best innocent look. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Greg's car, both times. The security camera caught you on Friday night. Did it? That's interesting. Interesting. Jack, you could go to jail for this. For what? Helping a guy with car trouble? I stood up and moved to the sink, rinsing my cup with deliberate calm. Besides, I thought you said I wasn't smart enough to catch on to anything. The words hit her like a physical blow. Rachel's face went white, and she sank into a kitchen chair. You know, she whispered, I know a lot of things. I know about the burner phone. I know about the hotel meetings. I know about the college sweetheart who thinks I'm an anchor around your neck. I turned to face her, and for the first time in months, I felt completely in control. What I don't know is why you didn't just ask for a divorce instead of humiliating me behind my back. Rachel's hands shook as she set her phone on the table. It's complicated. Is it? Seems pretty simple to me. You're bored with your simple husband, so you're fucking your sophisticated college boyfriend. Tale as old as time. Don't be crude. Crude? Lady, you've been sending naked pictures to another man for 6 months, and you're worried about my language? Tears started flowing down her cheeks, but I felt no sympathy. The woman crying in my kitchen wasn't the person I'd married. That person had been replaced by a stranger who thought I was too stupid to notice her betrayal. I never meant for it to happen, she said. Greg and I reconnected at a conference, and we started talking, and one thing led to another. Save it for your divorce lawyer. We both know you're going to need one. Jack, please, we can work this out. I'll end things with Greg. We can go to counseling. Work it out, I laughed, and the sound was bitter even to my own ears. Rachel, you called me an anchor. You said I wasn't smart enough to figure out your affair. You told our daughter that I'm a loser who doesn't deserve you. And now you want to work it out? How do you know what I said to Mia? Because I pay attention. Something you would have realized if you weren't so busy planning your escape from this marriage. Rachel buried her face in her hands. What do you want? What do I want? I want my wife back. The one who used to laugh at my jokes and didn't think I was an embarrassment. But she's gone, isn't she? She's been replaced by someone who lies and cheats and thinks she's too good for the man who's loved her for 18 years. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you touched me? Really touched me, not just going through the motions. When's the last time you asked about my day, my dreams, my feelings? When's the last time you treated me like a partner instead of a burden? She couldn't answer because we both knew the truth. Our marriage had been dying for years, suffocated by her ambition and my complacency. Greg hadn't destroyed our relationship. He just moved into the space that was already empty. So what happens now? She asked. Now? Now you get to see what the simple, stupid husband is really capable of. That afternoon, while Rachel was at work trying to manage the crisis I'd created, I paid a visit to Kellerman Realty. Tad was in his office, looking nervous and jumpy. Word had spread about Greg's car troubles, and anyone connected to him was feeling paranoid. We need to talk, I said, walking into his office without being announced. Security, he shouted, reaching for his phone. Relax. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to make you an offer. I don't want anything from you, you psycho. Sure you do. You want me to leave you alone? You want to sleep at night without wondering if your car will start in the morning? You want your wife and kids to be safe from the crazy hardware guy who knows where they live. Tad's face was pale, but he was listening. Here's the deal, I continued. You're going to tell me everything you know about Greg Hartwell's business, his clients, his deals, his secrets, everything. I can't do that. It's confidential. So was my wife's affair, but that didn't stop you from making jokes about it. I sat down across from his desk. Look, Tad, I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I just want information. Public records, gossip, rumors. The kind of stuff that gets passed around at office parties. And if I don't, then you get to spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering when the simple guy's going to get creative again. It took him 20 minutes to tell me everything I needed to know. Greg Hartwell wasn't just a real estate agent. He was a corner-cutting, client-screwing, deal-stealing piece of garbage who'd made plenty of enemies in the business. He'd been investigated twice by the state licensing board, had 3 pending lawsuits from former clients, and was rumored to be sleeping with at least 2 other married women besides my wife. Most importantly, he was scheduled to close a major commercial deal the following Friday, a deal that would make him a fortune and secure his partnership in the firm, a deal that was about to go very, very wrong. The Riverside Community Center had never seen anything like Fight Night for charity. What started as a small fundraiser for the local boxing club had grown into a major event, thanks to some strategic promotion and a few well-placed phone calls. The converted warehouse space was packed with folding chairs surrounding a regulation boxing ring, and the crowd included everyone who mattered in our little social circle. Rachel sat in the front row, looking uncomfortable in a black dress that seemed appropriate for a funeral. Next to her, Greg Hartwell kept checking his phone and glancing toward the exits. Tad Kellerman had found a seat near the back, as far from the action as possible. My daughter Mia was there with some friends, probably hoping to film something embarrassing for her social media accounts. Jules Romano stood in the center of the ring, microphone in hand, working the crowd like the natural showman he'd always been. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fight Night for Charity. Tonight we've got some great amateur matches lined up, with all proceeds going to support the Riverside Youth Boxing Program. The crowd applauded politely. Most of them were here for the novelty, curious to see their neighbors and colleagues throw punches in a controlled environment. They had no idea they were about to witness something much more interesting. Our first match features 2 local businessmen who volunteered to settle their differences in the ring. In the red corner, we have Greg Hartwell, representing Hartwell Realty. Greg climbed through the ropes, looking confident in his red shorts and matching gloves. He'd been working out, I could tell. His body was lean and toned, the physique of a man who spent serious money on personal trainers and nutritionists. And in the blue corner, we have Jack Morrison, owner of Morrison Hardware. I made my way to the ring slowly, taking my time, letting the crowd get a good look at me. I wasn't as pretty as Greg, but I was bigger, broader, with the kind of muscle that came from years of manual labor. More importantly, I was the only one in the building who knew what was really about to happen. Gentlemen, Jules said as we met in the center of the ring, this is a charity exhibition. 3 rounds, amateur rules. Keep it clean, keep it fun, and remember, this is all for a good cause. Greg leaned close during the referee's instructions. You're making a big mistake, Morrison. Am I? We'll see. The bell rang, and Greg came out swinging. He was faster than I'd expected, landing a couple of quick jabs that snapped my head back. The crowd cheered, and I saw Rachel lean forward in her seat, her face a mask of conflicted emotions. I let Greg have the first round. Let him look good, build up his confidence, make the crowd think he might actually win this thing. But I was studying him, learning his patterns, waiting for the right moment. Round 2 was different. I started pressing forward, using my size advantage, backing Greg into the corners and working his body. He was breathing hard now, his pretty face flushed with exertion. The crowd was getting into it, cheering for both of us, but I could see the worry creeping into Greg's eyes. Getting tired? I asked during a clinch. Go to hell, he gasped, already there. But I'm taking you with me. Round 3 was when I ended it. Not with a knockout. That would have been too obvious, too dramatic. Instead, I systematically broke him down, landing punches that hurt without causing serious damage, making him look foolish and weak in front of everyone who mattered to him. With 30 seconds left in the final round, Greg quit. Just stopped fighting and leaned against the ropes, his chest heaving, his face a mask of defeat and humiliation. The crowd was confused, unsure how to react. Jules stepped in quickly, raising my hand and declaring the bout over. But I wasn't done yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, taking the microphone from Jules, before we move on to the next match, I'd like to share something with all of you. Rachel's face went white. She knew what was coming. See, this fight wasn't really about charity. It was about truth. About what happens when people think they can lie and cheat and get away with it because they're dealing with someone they consider beneath them. I reached into my corner and pulled out a tablet computer, holding it up so everyone could see the screen. For the past 6 months, my wife Rachel has been having an affair with Greg Hartwell. They thought I was too stupid to figure it out. They called me an anchor, a loser, someone who didn't deserve respect or honesty. The crowd was dead silent now. Rachel was crying, her hands covering her face. Greg was still leaning against the ropes, looking like he wanted to disappear. But here's the thing about simple guys like me. We pay attention to details. We keep records. We document everything. I touched the tablet screen, and a slideshow began playing on the large monitor that had been set up for the fight replays. Text messages appeared, explicit photos, hotel receipts, credit card statements. The evidence of their affair laid out in excruciating detail. Rachel Morrison, junior partner at Brennan, Cross & Associates. Greg Hartwell, licensed real estate agent. Both of them liars, cheaters, and hypocrites who thought they were smarter than the guy who fixes toilets for a living. Someone in the crowd gasped. Others were taking pictures with their phones, already uploading the drama to social media. Rachel's career was over. Greg's reputation was destroyed. Their social circle would never look at them the same way again. But I still wasn't finished. Oh, and Greg, remember that big commercial deal you were supposed to close tomorrow? The one that was going to make you partner? Well, it turns out your clients don't appreciate doing business with men who sleep with other people's wives, especially when those men have a history of cutting corners and screwing over their customers. Greg's face went from red to white in the span of a heartbeat. You can't, that's not legal, ethical? Yeah, it is. See, all I did was make sure your clients knew the truth about who they were dealing with. Turns out, they decided to take their business elsewhere. I handed the microphone back to Jules and climbed out of the ring. The crowd parted before me like I was radioactive, their faces a mixture of shock, disgust, and fascination. Rachel caught up with me in the parking lot, her makeup ruined by tears, her dress wrinkled from pushing through the crowd. How could you do this to me? She sobbed. In front of everyone we know? The same way you could cheat on me for 6 months. The same way you could call me a loser to our daughter. The same way you could make me feel like garbage in my own home. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jack. I never meant for any of this to happen. Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. You just didn't think there would be consequences. Greg appeared beside her, his face swollen from the beating I'd given him, his expensive clothes torn and dirty. You're insane, he said. You've destroyed everything. Rachel's career, my business, our lives. For what? Some twisted sense of revenge? I looked at both of them. The woman I'd loved for 18 years, and the man who'd helped her betray me, and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. You want to know what this was about? It was about respect. You thought I was too simple, too stupid, too weak to fight back. You thought you could humiliate me and I'd just take it like a good little victim. I stepped closer to Greg, close enough that he instinctively backed away. But here's what you never understood. I wasn't weak. I was just waiting for the right moment to show you who you were really dealing with. I turned and walked toward my truck, leaving them standing there in the parking lot, their lives in ruins, their futures uncertain. Behind me, I could hear Rachel crying and Greg cursing, but their voices faded as I drove away into the night. The simple guy had won. The villain they created had gotten his revenge, and it felt absolutely perfect.